said she didn't have anything to do with that letter. Her sister is someone she cannot control, and she cannot dictate upon, and etc. So we thought at that point things were again resolved. Okay. However, a few days later, there was a column that came out in the Philippine Star, which is also a major newspaper in the Philippines. A column written by a prominent columnist, very well respected. His name is Bu Chanko. He normally writes about business matters, but in that column, he really praised Tony and his family for the work in GK. And very glowing terms for Tony. Now, but shortly after that column came out, there came another letter addressed to Bu Chanko, this time coming from a person named Lorenzo Cruz. And up to this day, we don't know who he is. We don't know whether he's a real person or a pseudonym. Okay, of course, Lorenzo Cruz is a common name. You know, it's like Juan de la Cruz or etc. But anyway, that letter to Bu Chanko was very vicious on Tony and his family. And again, that letter writer said, Mr. Chanko, why are you extolling Tony? You don't know the real Tony Miloto. I will unmask him. And he said that, did you know that Tony, when he was with the central bank, embezzled a lot of money? And it was not only below the belt, because it was not true. Tony was never connected with the central bank at all. But in any event, there was attack not only Tony but his family, and even Dylan Wilk was, this letter writer said, why all this attention on Dylan Wilk? All he did was just sell a second-hand car. Even if the car just happened to be a BMW and a Porsche, a Porsche, and etc. But anyway, the point was the attacks were coming, and for Tony, he said, the attacks could continue, and as it was getting to be some kind of a pattern. It was the first time that it appeared in print, but Tony has heard many of these things also verbally. So when we met on February 13th, the council was just shocked when Tony announced that he was resigning. He was stepping down from the council, and he was stepping down as executive director of Kawat Kalinga. And he said it's because he would like, he said he resigned for 3 reasons. One is that he loves his family, and he doesn't want his family to be subjected to all of these vicious attacks that seems to be building up. So if he said if it were just an attack on me, I probably would have been able to withstand it, but I can't bear my children also being attacked. So he said, I'm also resigning because I love the community, because notwithstanding that the fact that the attack was on him, but he is the face of GK, and everyone knows that GK is CFC, and therefore an attack on Tony would also be indirectly an attack on all of us. And so he said that's also one reason why he's resigning. And thirdly, he is resigning because he would like to maintain his friendship and brotherhood with Frank Padilla. And I think that statement also had an implication that Tony was not completely out of suspecting that Jerry may have something to do with it, although again whether that's right or wrong, but that was, I think, what he had felt in his heart, and therefore he said, rather than be an issue between him and Frank, he would rather step down so that the relationship with him and Frank is preserved. Anyway, so that's how Tony explained it, and then Frank then said that he had been also mulling over it for at least a couple of days before, and he said it also is probably the call for him to step down. And while he referred to the letters as merely the trigger that began this. He said there is much more to this because he said, he cited many of the things that you have probably read. Dwindling evangelization, dwindling tithes, conflicts among leaders, etc. And since we are the governing body, we take collective responsibility for that. And as the top leader, he said he would like to resign. So that really shocked us. Two major, elders just stepped down. And what was worse was when Tony said to Lachi, I don't know if you know Lachi Agana. Tony said, Lachi, I think you're also in this. I think it would be good if you also resign. and then Frank also seconded that. He said, yes, Lachi, I think there's also a need for you to resign. So Lachi, in fairness to him, I think was just absorbing all of these things, but he said also, again, I have to honor him this way, that, well, if it is good for community, I am also ready to step down. So that's how it happened, Brother Manny, and that got us all, how will we ever explain this to the members? How will we ever do this? How will we do it? And so therefore, the guideline was for Frank to articulate this in a meeting in the teaching night of the Mission Corps of Metro Manila, which was happening the next week in February 20. And the reasons we discussed were there. In fact, that brought me to, at that point in that discussion, to say that if it is collective responsibility, all of us 7 should resign at the same time. But it was also Frank who said that no, the work has to continue, and the 4 of you can continue as a council. Since you are 4 anyway, 4 out of 7, you are still a majority, you can continue on. So our continuing on was really not because we wanted to, the 4 of us, but because that was the collective decision of the council of 7, and we had to respect that, and we wanted to respect that. But anyway, later on, Brother Manny, Frank elaborated on the reasons for his resignation. He had several Q&As, question and answer. And when the GK3 paper came out, he also said that it was really GK that triggered, that was the main reason for his resignation. We're still struggling with that because